Now, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts is meeting with Road Accident Fund executives today. Earlier this year, the board came under fire for defying the Auditor General regarding accounting standards. SCOPA Chair Mtila has also called for the board to be dissolved. Our senior reporter Aviwe Mtila is following that story and he joins us now live. Aviwe, just give us an update on the things that have been discussed so far, either with you or in that particular meeting.
Masego, what a mess. That's all I can say about the Road Accident Fund and the work that's been done here. There are claims, Masego, that you think that are currently being processed, but they're actually sitting in some storage, thousands and thousands of claims in hundreds of boxes. In fact, I've got the SCOPA Chair, Mtila, just to give us an idea of what you've been met with here at the Road Accident Fund.
Disaster, chaos. All of those words are probably understatements to the extent to which the problems here prevail. And not because they are new problems. It's because they are problems that are not receiving the necessary attention from those in positions of authority and responsibility. The bottom line is that the board is in office illegally and the minister has got a legal obligation to appoint a board. And we are saying to her, in the absence of appointing that board, not only is she non-compliant, but she would be complicit in the continuation of the reign of terror being meted out by this board on this institution. They are a dismal failure as far as we are concerned and are tripping this institution from one problem to the next as opposed to resolving it. The situation is not turning around. The workers are not happy. This building itself is a health hazard, is an occupational hazard. The storage facilities here are archaic. And if God forbid it rained to the extent to which there were floods or there was flooding of whatever nature or there was a fire here. The sad reality is that the people whose claims are stuck at RAF would be lost because there's no transfer to any system or IT system, and so there's a double prejudice to the victims. They are harmed on the road and then they find themselves victims of RAF not complying with due process.
I was about to ask, because it seems like everything is done manually. Yeah, these claims are done manually. We've seen boxes literally in every room, hundreds of boxes with what I assume is thousands of claims. Are these claims being processed by the people that are actually claiming for serious accident?
Well, I mean, it's common cause that there's a problem of claims. That is why the sheriff is coming in and day out. I mean, if I show you here, if your camera can come, this has been tagged for removal by the sheriff. And these tags are throughout the building. Why? Because people are not being paid, and so therefore assets are being seized and being auctioned off as a means for people to get their money. This is not an office building, it's a warehouse, it's a storehouse. Everywhere. And why? Because amongst others, we were told that the Metrofile contract has been cancelled because RAF has been unable to meet its obligations. The final point really to stress is that the working environment here is not conducive for workers. There's a reign of terror. They are afraid. And the board, they tried to do something very stupid to the executives, directing the security here not to let us in. And then on top of that, when we, forced our way and demanded to come in, because this is it was not a sport oversight, we had communicated to them. Whether they were here or not, we were the least bit bothered. We wanted to assess the space and the conveyor belt. So that tells you what kind of leadership you have here. One where they were sending now the security to shadow us with a view to intimidate workers from talking to us. The environment is toxic.
And we spoke to some of those workers. Those workers want to speak out, but they say that they're afraid to speak out. Let's talk on what happens next. I heard you inside call for a full-on investigation, a forensic investigation. Maybe do expand on what's happening next.
Well, it's a thought that we have. We're going to finalize on our report when we return to Cape Town. But the issue is that RAF needs to be investigated to the extent to which let me put it differently. disclaimed audit outcomes are an indication of absence of anything and everything, right? So it becomes a conducive and enabling environment for corruption because there's nothing that you can find. So we take a very dim view on persistent disclaimers, particularly ones where the executive authority, the accounting authority tend to do nothing to respond to those disclaimers. As far as we are concerned, RAF is a crime scene, RAF is a corruption operation. If what we see and what we read is anything to go by. And the AG's frustrations are shared by us. There's a stubbornness at the executive and board level of this institution to be compliant. Now, that is why then it goes back to the initial point. After all is said and done, the minister must appoint a board. I want to say that on the issues that the workers have raised, some of which have been noted by my colleagues, I did have a discussion with union representatives, but not in their full complement, during the walkabout, and have requested them to submit to us in detail the issues that they feel need to be dealt with. Ultimately, what we want is a RAF that's functional and compliant and is able to fulfill its responsibilities and obligations, because we can't bail out every institution. So we can't throw financial solutions to non-financial problems. There has to be turnaround to governance, to leadership. There has to be consequence management, and that's not happening. And the call I'm making, whether it was to ESCOM this week and to RAF today, the executive and the leadership need to get out of the boardroom and go to the sites where these things are taking place to fix them. Now you've got people in lush utopic offices thinking they can run such grand institutions without being on the ground. Workers here were telling us they don't even know who the board is. They've never seen the executives. Every instruction comes through letters or notes or whatever. So you've got a trust deficit, you've got a detachment of leadership and workers, and that creates a perfect storm for this crisis. But the minister, the buck stops with her. Appoint a board.
Thank you very much. That's the SCOPA chairperson, Nguleko Hlengwa. Of course, just on the oversight visit that he is seeing here, it is in shambles, as he put it. What we met with here, essentially just boxes upon boxes with thousands of claims in every room here, Maseko, that will tell you that those people that have had those serious injuries and accidents and those claims currently are not being processed. The shambles that the Road Accident Fund is actually in at the moment.